Gieva Cordia, good evening to you, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another Fireside Chat, and this is Fireside Chat 54. So just type in your names and let me know where you're from. I see Jules is in cloudy Wyoming hoping for rain, and Chrissy in Norfolk is hoping to send it to her. Hi, Julia from London. Lovely to see you. It's cold, a little bit of rain, but not mad at the moment. And South Wales, ciao Elvira from Italy, and Alinea from Vero Beach, and Essex, and Washington, Northamptonshire. Lovely to see you all. Great. And Arkansas. Hi, Ava from Belgium. Yorkshire. Hi, Lynn. Haven't seen you in a long time, and lovely to see you. Gina from Cornwall. Lovely. And Shanti from New Zealand. I'm very impressed that you get up so early because it's our tomorrow morning. It's Friday morning for you. And Victoria from Switzerland, lovely. And Oklahoma, wonderful. You're also welcome. Hi, Sandy from Devon. Anyway, let me introduce you to my guest this evening, and we're going to the Netherlands. And I'd like to introduce Marjolein van Noordende. Noordende, have I pronounced it properly?
Yeah, you did.
So where are you in the Netherlands?
I'm in the south of the Netherlands, and I want to thank you first for inviting me to this fireside chat. Thank you, Eimear. I'm in the south of the Netherlands, near the Belgian border.
Okay. So now, van Noordende, it means from the north, does it?
Yes, from the end of the north. And that is where I'm sorry?
Yeah, the north end. Okay, I'm following it now. Yes.
Yeah, that is where my father's family comes from Zealand. And there's something strange with places. And my mother's family name is Horstenbach, and that means in German, the highest brook. So my father and my mother both come from an area that has a name or is a place. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So what's your landscape like where you are?
Well, in the north, I have a river, and it's kind of a big river. In the west, there's a lot of farmland. In the south, there are sand dunes. That is kind of strange because we are not nearby the sea, but this is a place where the sand just, ruins all the trees and it's just sand like the dunes. So that's a special place. And in the east is woodland, woods, trees, a lot of trees. So it is a kind of, we have it all.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have any old sites there near where you are?
No, not in the area of 10, 15 kilometers, but in the direction of my place, say 30, 40 kilometers, yes, we do have old places, like old castles, and it has to do with our kings many years ago, of course, and holy places, also, places where the goddess is worshipped. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm looking at your background, your magnificent staircase I assume in your own castle in which you live.
Well, it's not a castle. It's a picture of an old building. Yeah, that's right. But it is a silent protest. And it's a protest against all these beautiful young people who fill themselves up with fillers and Botox and stuff like that. So I don't want to sound like an old hag, but I think they're losing their soul, and they are beautiful, and it's not necessary to fill yourself up with Botox or any poison stuff or things like that. So I think they don't recognize the beauty in old things, old
Mhm.
buildings, old people, old whatever. And there is really a beauty in old things, especially old buildings, but also in old people. So yeah, you lose a bit of your soul when you don't want to see yourself as the person who you are, and that goes for your age also. I mean, I'm 63 and I'm a grandmother. I don't want to act like someone who's 18, fill myself up with whatever. I'm very, very okay with 63. So every age has its beauty. So this is kind of a silent protest. I'm sorry if I,
Well, it's not
yeah.
so much silent now, and you're getting lots of agreement here.
Oh, I cannot read them, but if you tell me
Oh,
that,
well, there's so much in agreement, Marjolein. There it is. There's so much character in the old.
yeah,
Agreed. I love old things and old people. I agree. Yeah. So you're getting plenty of support. There's something, and yeah, I mean, absolutely. So many people fear age. And then Alinea says, I think people are bombarded by the television and adverts that always show young people. Older people wear nice clothes and drink sodas too. I agree. Yeah. So you're getting lots. You're getting lots of.
okay.
So not so much of a silent protest as you've actually said it, and people are agreeing with you and appreciating it, which is
Okay.
lovely.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Yeah.
I too, I love old buildings, and I live in an old house, and I have a ruined castle in my land. And I remember Howard, my late husband, used to say, "We need ruins. They remind us of the past and our history, and that we should preserve ruins as well. It's not even about rebuilding them, but it's actually recognizing, the magic of a ruined castle or a ruined church, and you're looking at these magnificent windows and you see it silhouetted against the sky, and what beauty there is in that old building, in that what seems like a damaged, not useful building, but it's just you're getting the old simply are not appreciated enough nowadays.
Yeah.
And then I went grey young and embraced it. So did I, Hannah. I'm a redhead since my late 20s, or now blonde, obviously, since then. Damn you, you just beat me to it. This is Shanti. I was about to say each phase has its beauty and lesson to learn. So others are obsessed with history. And then somebody says, I collect old books. Is there a link to the people who once held them? That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And somebody says, ruins show the tales of old empires. Yes, and not just old empires. Somebody says, ruins also let us feel eternity. There's something like that. Yes, that there's some magic in that.
Yeah, I think so. You had a conversation with someone in France, if I remember correctly, a few weeks ago, and she was telling about the places who are so ugly, no one wants to go. We adore these beautiful places, and but these ugly places like the bog, the moor, all these stinking places, but these are the places that keeps the memory alive. And I think it's beautiful to visit that place, because all these ugly places, because those places remind you, indeed, these places remind you of your mortality, but also of the stories and of everything what has happened there. So that's with a human face also. You see all the wrinkles, you see all the hair is not in an original state anymore. So that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's the story. It's so I tell my daughters, every wrinkle I deserved. I worked I worked for them really, really hard. Every wrinkle.
Yes, your badges of honor. And it's lovely here. Shanti says, I only have 4 to 5 gray hairs, but I treasure them and I've given them names.
Ah.
I think that's really sweet. And Ferdiad, who was a guest some weeks back, ruins are wonderful liminal places. And they are. There is that time out of time. And then Marcus, who was a guest as well, says, I'm quite a nice liminal place. So I think really nice. And of course, there's connection to our ancestors, and I know you wanted to talk about ancestors, so maybe this
Oh,
takes us in there.
oh yeah, we had this beautiful workshop with you in Germany, of
Oh,
course.
I've forgotten that. Sorry.
Oh, and that was so great. So the connection with the ancestors made me think about the order, really, and you can see that the order is changing. The people are. I know because I'm doing the distribution for France and Belgium and the Netherlands. And you can see that there's so many young people starting the course now. And okay, I'm complaining about fillers and Botox and stuff like that. But no, there's also another side, of course. And that's all these young people who are so interested in making their life worthwhile, I think. And I see this big change. People in their 30s or even 20, they enter the order, they become a member, they join the order. The only thing is they want it quick, so quick. They want it if they send me a mail and tomorrow they want to receive the course, the first envelope. So that's lovely, of course, but that's not how it works. Maybe in a few years when everything is digital. But that made me think about my ancestors and the
Mhm.
future. And if I look at my grandparents, they were in World War One and Two, and they were fighting for their lives and for their children and everything. They had a very hard time, of course. Then my parents were the people who start building up society, building up, well, really buildings. They
Mhm.
need to build houses to live in because, well, after the war. And then my generation came, so 50, 60 years, and we as it were, we cleansed the path. We were working to make a free path for the next generation to walk on. So it's like we protested a lot in that time and in the 60s, 70s. Women rights against the atom bomb, of course. We had a lot of protests in Europe, but also in America. And that's kind of cleaning the path. So the next generation, our children, can do what is really necessary for the earth. And they start involved with orders and spiritual stuff and read books and make this new age, start this new age movement. And the generation that is now entering the course or entering our order, they don't have time. They need to work very fast, but because they see that the earth needs
Mhm.
us. So that's funny. You see not only your ancestors, but also the ones who are now the generation of this moment. So that's funny to see all these this whole chain of generations, and they all serve a purpose. And
Yes.
yeah,
Gunter, whom you know, says, let's say every generation maybe has its plan. Uh, and I think so. And we, at the workshop, we're talking about ancestors of the future and, what we leave our ancestors, sorry, what we leave our descendants.
yeah,
We, as the current future ancestors, if that sounds a bit strange, how important that is to pay attention to what our legacy is. Kean says there's a definite surge in interest in paganism in people of his age. I take it you're young, Kean. And
mhm,
remember, it's interesting because if I go to a gathering, well, pre-COVID, of course, say Glastonbury, there's lots of silver-haired people, all the wise ones. But all of them, so many of them joined when they were very, very young. Like Philip was initiated as a bard when he was 18, you know. So what happens is that people joined many years ago when they were young, and then then there's waves of interest, and it's nice to see that there's another upsurge in young people who are joining the order, and that it has some kind of resonance or some kind of meaning or relevance for them in their lives.
Exactly. I think what Gunther says is right. Every generation has a purpose, has a goal, has something to do here. And yeah, I know we all started when we are much younger, and we are now the elders of the order. But then again, we need to teach them how to plant a tree. You cannot learn that from the internet. So there's still a task for us to do, you know.
That's right. Well, Keane says he's 19. And then Brian says, as someone in their early 40s, I feel the emergency of this path. Maybe you could expand on that, Brian. It'd be interesting is it the emergency of the state of the world, you know, that we're living in an emergency? I don't know. It'd be nice to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, me too. Because that is what I experience when I see all these new members. They're so young. So what is the hurry? And I need to see it through their eyes, but I don't understand it quite yet. But I need to see it through their eyes. What is the hurry? What is going on in their minds? What is the reason they want it so quickly? Even ask me for the whole course at once. Just send him at once, not every month. So I need to explain, no, that's not how it goes. But well, you can see the hurry. You can see that they are not so patient as we were.
I often think I remember there was that will go out in the post to you this evening. Expect to receive this in the next 2 days would have been a standard official response to something. And then it's like, I sent you an email an hour ago. Why haven't you responded? And there's something also around our technology that makes everything so fast. That's
true.
And it's almost like when I'm ordering something online, it's like, oh, I want this now, where before they would take time. And I have to remind myself, hold on a second, there is no rush.
No.
So I was always very fast. I speak really quickly. It took me a long time to slow down. And I found that when I was rushing, I was not getting anywhere because I'd resist as well. I'd set up obstacles.
Oh, yeah.
So there was always that kind of tension between going fast and wanting to get there and not allowing that time to integrate. And I've copped on since, but it was a challenge for me.
Maybe you should give a workshop about that, because I think many people are struggling with that.
Yeah, so Julia says that's the fault of the on-demand culture. And then somebody says, what is the attraction for young people to this path? Is it an environmental thing? So
I don't know. I think COVID has to do with all this, because people are sitting at home, losing their jobs, don't have to, cannot go to their work anymore. So they want to do something that matters in their lives, and they want to give themselves an explanation of what is happening, what is going on, and maybe they will find it in spirituality or whatever. Maybe they will go to church or whatever. But maybe this is one of the things that made that more people are a member now, entering the course, entering the order. I don't know.
Yeah, Brian says a sense of danger for the world and humanity. I think that's hitting more people now. But there's also maybe the COVID crisis brought around like, well, how do I make meaning of my life? And I think having a sense of purpose or a sense of meaning, or being able to sense, I think the lockdowns really, I think, challenge people around that, because being locked up or locked down and the restrictions that left people, I think for many, was like, well, what is my purpose? What am I doing? I think it's been really challenging for these times. Now, somebody says, for me as a young person, the sense of connection to the land, when everything feels so separate in the modern age, living in the city, and I'm sorry about that, I have to go up and get it again, and surrounded by the man-made environment, that and my Welsh heritage. So that's, I don't know what your name is, it's not clear. And that is an interesting one. So feeling separate, that the living in a city, in a modern life, that that sense of being cut off. And then again, in another way, that the lockdown, for me, I live in a rural area. I think for many people, gave people an opportunity, for many people, they got an opportunity to engage with their landscape, however that is. Cian says, I looked for a path that connects me to the world around me. Many young people are similar to myself. Sive says, I observed the deep lacking of spiritual connection for the years of youth, and then once the catalyst is set in motion, the rapid demand to receive fulfillment and purpose. They crave that place of belonging and clan connection. And I think that sense of connection, I think, is really important. That sense of belonging, I think, is a really, really important one. And of course, with lockdowns, people didn't have that. They were isolated in their own homes. And I think that is, there's going to be a big fallout from that. That's really, really challenging.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I noticed that I told you in the east of my town where I live, there are a lot of trees, woods, stuff like that. And you can see it is crowded with people during lockdown. People with children, with their dogs. And normally this was a place that nobody visited. So it was really quiet. You can see the deers walking in front of you. But now it's crowded with people. Now it's not so bad anymore because it's no lockdown, so it's okay now. But during lockdown, well, fantastic to see how many people want that connection and see nature blooming and blossoming and feeling good, not being kept in their houses. And yeah, it makes them depressive. And as a herbalist, I noticed that during the lockdown, many people asked me for valerian root, and that's something to calm down.
Yeah.
And you could think, well, you're already calmed down. You're in your house. You don't have to do anything. You're not going to work. You must be very calm now. No. In their mind, it's still working, and they are so stressed, and they need to get something to relieve the stress. And so I made a lot of valerian root tincture. So I really thought it would be something else, something with vitamin C or stuff like that, but it wasn't. It was valerian root.
Interesting.
So people must be very stressed at their homes, and the lockdown especially. Yeah.
Franklin says, I'm not that young, but the lockdown got me to look at myself. What am I doing? My life was run by my job, social pressures, etc. Yeah, and I think hopefully, and then Brian says, COVID has taught so many of us that there is more to life than producing, striving and working, but we've been conditioned to always be doing. And I think that for those lucky enough to be reflective enough that, to have an opportunity to be able to take a look and reflect on what our lives are about, I think is a very, very important one. Gabriella says, I think the part of the anxiety of lockdown came from the world around you crumbling down, everything being chaotic and uncertain. So Mark says it made him look at his life in a completely different way. And somebody worried to die in a meaningless life. That's Hannah. I think that slowing down, reflecting, what are we about? And I know at the beginning of lockdown, when the planes weren't in the sky, and we're seeing videos of animals coming into cities and things, and wonderful, and we'll never go back to the way we were. But traffic is in the sky, is back, and it's there on the roads. That how many of us are actually really thinking about how we change things, or do we have an opportunity to do that?
Difficult question. There will be some people who are really saw the difference during lockdown, and they really want to change their lives, not going to fly every summer, going to different countries, stuff like that. People are really conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are just very glad that they could fly again and step in their cars again. But then again, well, who knows? There isn't a balance yet between the two. So yeah, it's still going on. Oh well, that's COVID. It's not over yet. But yeah, I think it's important that we learn from it, as our ancestors did with the big flu in, what was it, 1914?
1918.
1918, yeah. So we need to learn from that and see make use of the experience, of their experience. And that's also what it's about with the ancestors. Make use of their experience, and don't think that you're the one who knows it all. No, you have lots of generations.
That's right.
And they already did it, done it, got the t-shirts, or what else. Yeah, so make use of that experience. And maybe we are now standing in a time that will write history also, that we need to be accepting this experience and give it to our children and grandchildren so they can learn. Also, does it have a purpose, COVID? Is there something important about COVID? Do we learn something from this? Did we learn something from when we were ill from COVID? That's a question I asked Matt last weekend. I said, what did you learn from COVID? And he said, what do you mean? What can I learn from COVID? He was ill, I was ill. So I said to him, well, for me, it were dragons with 3 heads. I cut one off, and 2 new heads grew back. So I thought it was just a multi-headed dragon. And then I saw my life, and my life is exactly the same, a multi-headed dragon. I started with this, finished that, next one, like the people who wrote this just a minute ago. Yeah, it's we don't take our peace, our rest, and let it sink in or something like that. So we make from ourselves a multi-headed dragon. Why are we doing that? Why? And so I asked him, and he said, yeah, I now understand what COVID did to me, and I'm aware what it did. So that's funny. There is some awareness. You can become aware of what it did to you. What does a lockdown do to you? What does it bring you? You connect with nature again. So that's beautiful. That's important, to connect with nature again, connect with your soul, connect with your deepest self. So COVID will bring us something. And maybe we just need to gather all this information and this experience and give it to our children and grandchildren, so they can learn from how to work this out, and not on a level of washing your hands and taking a vaccine. No, this is what COVID does on a deeper level.
That's really interesting. I want to come back to Lynn Harling. She says this, you were asking the question, why is everybody in a rush, or younger people? She said neuropsychology might be able to shed light on the need for immediacy. My kids' neural networks must be so different to my own generation due to the excessive technological stimulation, time and work pressure, and lack of access to the rural environment. My kids can't believe we had no TV, phone in early childhood. We had to be patient in order to communicate. And she says there are pros and cons of social media. My daughter finds it difficult to turn off her phone. For me, it's essential for peace and, I assume you said, quiet. I mean, that's an interesting one, how our younger people, how their brains are different because of all of that. And I mean, my children weren't given technology until they were much older. But I often see people, and I see it's tempting to give a mobile phone to a baby just to amuse them while you have to cook dinner or something. And that, at this stage, children are exposed at a very, very early age. So everything work different.
Yeah, that's right. It works different. But can we give them inspiration to plant a tree and learn how to plant a tree? Because on the internet, you can see the pictures. On YouTube, you can see the pictures. But really go outside and plant a tree. Isn't that a task that we have to perform?
Yes.
So that's the same with the iPhones, the stuff, all the, yeah.
I know I brought my daughter when she was 14 to this, what we call Earth Song Camp. It's a camp in Ireland where there's about 600 people in different little circles, and we cook on an open fire for maybe 15 to 20 people, and there's various workshops. And there are no phones allowed on. So it's drug and alcohol free, and there's no technology. So you're cooking on an open fire. There's a cafe that that runs on gas. But that's all. Everything is pit latrines, wood fires to heat up the water for showers. And you can only use the mobile phone in the car park, just away from everything. And it's 9 days of none of this. And when I told her I was taking her, she said, you can't do this. You and your hippie friends, you can't do this to me. This is terrible. So I brought her with a friend. And on the first day, do we really have to go to a workshop? I said, yeah. I dropped them. And then I didn't see them for the 9 days. Will you please come for your meals? And she made friends there. And then they met later in the summer. And she said it was great, but then everybody had their phones. So we're sitting around having, in a coffee shop, and then everybody took their phones out, and they weren't doing what they used to do in Earth Song. She says, I really miss it, being together with no technology. And she's 19 now, and can really appreciate, she still has a phone, but can really appreciate the importance. And actually, the one thing about COVID is how isolated she was, that the phone was not enough. What she actually needed was the physical contact. And I think a real appreciation of having friends in the flesh and not just on a screen, where before it would have been screen and very little else. And I think that's really important to really, appreciate, physical contact with people and being in the same space. Like what we had at that workshop, it was just really, really wonderful to have that physical connection. And obviously being safe and all of that. But, that's a huge, like Trixie says, yes, we need touch and connection. Absolutely. Yeah. Physical contact is so, we're not wired for that at all,
Yeah, I think so. Well, my children are the same with their phones, and they never leave their phone 1 meter from their side. So I'm not the one who can tell you what to do, or I'm not trying to tell you how to plant a tree with your children. No, it's just my thoughts, my ideas. I have the same problem as everyone else. My youngest son is 23, so he never leaves his phone. Even when he goes to the shower, his phone is there. So I don't know. So it's also, of course, it's for every one of our generation and younger. It's a problem. It's difficult to understand if how it is possible that they cannot appreciate the silence, or and on the other hand, I see also the troubled children who are not in contact with their friends and in real life. That's terrible. That's really terrible for them, especially these young ones, 14 to 25. Yeah, they need to be in contact with their friends. This is puberty. This is
Oh yeah.
their time, and really their time. So yeah, it's difficult. Really, I have no solution for that.
No.
But no.
But Gabriella says, for me, to be honest, I loved the first few months. I got time for myself finally to sort things out. What surprised me was actually realizing I couldn't be a monk living by myself in the woods. I loved the first lockdown. It was just bliss.
Mm.
I mean, I'm very outgoing and I'm very gregarious, but I'm also very introverted. But I would not want another one. So like Julia says, yes, she loved no contact, was absolute bliss. But you do live in a major city. So some people can cope with it and others not, but it's about being able to choose to have contact or not. Pat says, some people I want to see in person, some folks, still good people, I'm perfectly happy to encounter only online. The really close folk you need to be with. And then Philippa says, I found some people divided into groups. Some found it difficult to sit with themselves, those who worked hard at their careers, then partied at weekends. Others who spend time around people and can't be alone, they didn't cope with lockdown. Absolutely. So it's been very much a mixed bag for people, and a really, really hard one. Yeah, Trixie says, we opened our home to my 14-year-old daughter's best friend for lockdown. Mental health became more important. And I think, yeah, that's one impact that hasn't had enough attention, I think, the mental impact or the impact on mental health that this has had.
Yeah.
That,
yeah, exactly. I work as a nurse and work with elderly people, and they are dying of loneliness, not of being sick, of loneliness. Yeah, that's so important to come in contact with the family or friends or whatever, and they were also in lockdown. So it's so sad to see that they just died from loneliness. Yeah.
yeah, and I dying alone, I think, is a hard one. I know some people may like to do it, but for those, it's. I mean, I don't want. I'd like to die with the people around me, and be conscious that I was dying, as it were, or to be ready and to be able to have people around me to say goodbye and get all that time. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's this time, Samhain, so we think about death and we think about our ancestors and think about that stuff. Yeah.
Indeed, yes, and we're having our OBOD Samhain ritual on Saturday. So yes, and Samhain in Ireland lasts for the whole month of November. It is Samhain is the Irish word for November.
Oh,
So,
that's lovely to know. Yeah. So you celebrate a whole month.
well, yeah, well, I suppose. I mean, I know, Ireland is predominantly a Christian country, and I come from a Roman Catholic background. But the month of November has always been the month to remember those who've gone before us. Not just, is it the 1st of November? I always get but that sense, like my father passed in November. So I know a lot of people who have, and it's always just been there even before I became a Druid. It's always been there in the landscape. So, and Trixie says, "Oh, Bealtaine here." So you're down south. So welcome, or happy Bealtaine, the beginning of summer to you. Enjoy. So yes.
Talking about Ireland, that was where I discovered that I need to study Druidry.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was visiting Ireland the first time in 2002 and did the Ring of Kerry, of course. I'm a tourist. Do I know anything about Ireland? No.
Beautiful.
It was. And my daughter and I went to Blarney Castle, and that's
You kissed it, didn't you?
Yeah, that's the one with the stone. You need to lay back and kiss the stone, and oh, terrible. Well, then again, it was fantastic. The journey was fantastic, but we went outside in the garden, and suddenly I get the feeling that this was the place of the druid, and
Okay.
everything I know about druids was comic books, nothing else. Although I'm a witch from my father's side, but about Druidry, I didn't know anything. So I stood there and I said to my daughter, "This is strange. This is the place of the witch, and over there stands the druid. What is he doing? What are they doing together?" And in a way, I saw that they worked together to keep a complete village healthy and in order.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I came back. I started to look for Druidry on the internet, and a friend of mine came with the introduction course, and I said, "Oh well, okay, that's it. Let's start." So it began in Ireland, of all places.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful.
So when as a druid, so when would you say what impact has Druidry had on your life?
It was more of my spiritual way. It was really for me a mystical path.
Mm-hmm.
um, Connected even more with the Hermetic system, the seven Hermetic principles, and um, doing more with the herbs. So became a herbalist, official herbalist, and it broadened my vision. It's making everything uh, even better, more than I already knew from witchcraft. I'm not a coven witch or um, um, from a special order or coven. No, I'm from a lineage of um, from my family. I was taught by my father. So
He was a herbalist.
no, he was a witch.
Oh, tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, well, he has passed away for 20 years ago now, but well, I'm the eldest in the family, the eldest daughter of five, and I was the one who received the education. So it started with the plant lore, and then the animal lore, animal realm, and then the ground, the soil, the weather, and so forth, and then rituals, hermetic stuff. So the base of all mystical paths in a way. Yeah. And then I stopped, and my adulthood started, and getting children and stuff like that, and I stuffed it away, and then it came up again. So yeah, I didn't realize it at that point, but yeah, the books he gave me, I read the books now. They are very old, and he came from a time that he worked with telekinesis. I don't know
Okay.
what the English.
Telekinesis.
Yeah, telekinesis and ectoplasm. That's the stuff, the soul. Yeah, that's a different ball game. But he taught me about that. But that was his time in his life at his youth. This what he has learned, and
Okay.
that is something we don't do anymore now. So, but that's stuff. Well, he taught me that. Yeah, it didn't work. I cannot move things with my mind, but it's funny to learn that as a child.
Did you see him do it?
No, he tried, and he was a teacher, and he ordered his pupils in the class to open a tap or to do something, and they really did that. But he did not move stuff, but he let people do stuff. So he didn't do it by himself, but with his mind, he
Could get somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know. He wasn't a bad witch or a black one or stuff that is not. That was his time. In that was the time of Crowley and seances and stuff like that. So, yeah, we in these days do it different. We have more. We work with plants and herbs and the star lore and other things and tarot, of course. That's still one that survived that time. The tarot. It's so
Was
old.
your mother
No,
involved in this? Interested? No.
no, not at all. No, she was a good Christian, Catholic. Yeah, no. So
Really
that's
interesting.
funny. Yeah, yeah. It is interesting to see in hindsight what has happened and what I have learned. At that time, I thought everybody got an education like that, but that isn't what was happening. And my sisters didn't know also. So if I show them, look, there's Venus, and they look around, they don't see anything. So yeah, I need to. In that time, he showed me not only the moon and the phases of the moon and the waters and the sea and the land and the soil and the vegetables and the food you can eat from the land and the mushrooms and the stuff like that. They don't know anything about that. So, but I thought everyone get an education like that, but no. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So lovely. Gabriella says, I just want to say I find Marjoleine's energy so soothing, settling, and peaceful.
Oh, thank you. It's my low voice, I think. Oh,
Let
yeah.
me ask, did your mother have a problem with your father being a witch?
No, no. That was in a time that church didn't grow with the community. So the church stayed very on a high horse and very manipulating. So my mother wasn't that going to church anymore. She didn't like going to church anymore, and
Oh,
you know, that was the time when the pastor, no, the the man from the church,
the priest, the bishop, the pope.
the priest came at their house and say, you need to be pregnant again because 5 is not enough. You need to
What?
make another one. Yeah, that was in the 50s, 60s in Holland, in the Netherlands. They came at their door and well, it's time to have another child. So 10, 12 children were normal at that time. And that was for my mother was, okay, I'm finished with church and priests and nuns and stuff like that. So she wasn't involved in practicing witchcraft, but she wasn't also involved in church anymore.
Okay.
So she didn't choose for witchcraft, but she did choose not going to church anymore. Yeah, that's in the 60s. Yeah. Well,
Wow.
church. Yeah. So then when you ask me, what did Druidry do for you? Well, it broadened my interest. It was more information, more. It was not so from that time. It was more from now. The rituals were more from this time, and yeah. So that made it for me very open to the order to be a member. Yeah, it's easier to understand.
And do you have a grove where you are?
No, I have a cafe, a pub.
Go on.
Yeah, with one of the members, I do have a pub in the south, and once or twice a year, we open the pub. We make a big pan of soup, and well, everybody can connect. It's not that we are doing rituals, it's just for the connection and to get to know each other, and well, everybody is welcome, normally speaking. So we arrange a big space so everybody can come and have a soup, have a coffee, have a conversation, have a beer, have a wine. So yeah, it's very easygoing. But you can see that members really want to come in contact with each other and want to tell stories and want to tell the new stuff and what's going on. So that's quite funny. Yeah. So we have a pub, not a grove.
And it's your property. Is it an actual pub, or you create the pub for the event?
No, it's a farmhouse, and we rent it for a day, and
Okay.
yeah, that's all. No,
Well,
I don't have a big house like that. No, I couldn't. No, it's just a farmhouse, big farmhouse. There are no animals anymore. It's an old lady who still lives in the house, and she's also very spiritual. Comes from England, I think 40 years ago, moved to the Netherlands. But she understands Druidry, and she loves if the druids are there, she loves it to bits. Yeah, she loves it. Yeah.
Poppy says she plans to do something like that in Crete, and all of us are invited when I make
Great.
it. Thank you,
Great.
Poppy. I've been to Crete once in 1979, a long time, and
Yeah.
I'd love to visit again. Yes.
Oh, me too. Greek.
Oh, Ferdiet says, wait till my grove hears about this. I'll end up having to open a pub.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the lady who lives in the farm alive. Oh, yes. Gabriella wants to know, is the lady who lives on the farm, is she alive?
She's still alive. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
it's just an idea, because we already got involved in the order, do the distribution, and my friend is doing Facebook thingies, and she's a tutor. So we are already doing so much, and if we have to make a grove or seed group, that will take a lot of time.
yeah.
So we choose to have a pub instead.
Very good.
Yeah.
There are people who do pagan moots in Ireland, not necessarily Druidic, and they have them in pubs, pagans in the pub. So it's they're in pubs. Of course, it's all pre-COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when has there been a time when Druidry actually supported you? When you think, whatever life crisis or event or something that you found that Druidry really supported you?
Well, I think the first time was when I received a letter from my tutor, and she said, "You're not going to OBOD. It's you have to study the bardic lessons again," and that was a real setback. But on the other hand, that made me very conscious and aware of what am I really doing. And then I start all over again, but with other eyes and with a real feeling. And from that day on, when I started again, that was the big change in me, seeing it all in a different way. And yeah, so my tutor told me, "No, you're not going to OBOD. Just do it again." That was it. That's something strange. It was not the herbs. It was not the magical stuff. It was not the OBOD course with the beautiful things. All the other courses, of course. No, it was that particular time when she said to me, "No." And that gave me really, really, that made me change my life and see the things in a different way.
Okay. A number of people have said that they've gone over, they've done their bardic grade 3 times or something, gone over and over and over. And then I think when you reread or go over something, you're looking at it, it's like a spiral, but it's not exactly the same. And that you have that fresh look, that it can be really, really important to revisit things that you have covered, but it's not the covering, it's the It's not the destination; it's the journey and the engagement with all of the teachings.
Yeah, exactly. You can read about the elements, and it's beautiful stuff, of course. But when you really let them in, it is going to work in a different way. And I think that was happening. That was what was happening. Starting to see it really from a different way and let it in and get all the emotions and all the intuition and open up mind and heart and belly and everything. So then the change began. The big change began.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have a personal practice, like a daily practice?
No, not daily. People can call me, or I do consultations.
I mean, a druidic practice, like a personal spiritual practice.
No. What do you mean by that?
Okay.
A
Do you?
do I meditate or something like
Or
that?
so, yes, something like that. Or yes, do you have a daily practice or a regular practice?
Oh gosh, no.
A spiritual practice, not. I don't mean your work.
No. It's just all day long. I'm connecting with spirit when I wake up. I greet the morning, and I'm alive again. I'm still alive. Oh, that's fun. So it's kind of I don't know. I cannot pinpoint it to a special moment in time or day or week or no. It's just coming, and sometimes I don't recognize it, and sometimes I do. But I don't practice stuff. I do my full moon circles. That's something I do.
Okay.
And of course, there's some Druidic influence, especially during Samhain. That's a path that belongs to me, and the Druidic path is more a path that's more a path for the sun, the male energy, the 8 festivals, the fire festivals. That's I work the 4 weeks with the full moon, my feminine
Okay.
energy, the goddess energy,
Mhm.
and every 6 to 8 weeks I celebrate the feast that is going on now. It's Samhain, and I combine the two. So
Okay.
for instance, last year I put a red what is it, string tape? No, not a tape, cord
Thread.
on my ankle. Yeah, thread on my ankle to remind me a whole year, a year and a day. That's what the witches do, a year and a day. And for me, it was during Samhain, because that's the new year, and it gives me the time, 1 year and a day, to solve this. So every day when I go to bed, I was reminded of this red thing on my ankle, and it really annoyed me till I addressed the problem, and then okay. So
And
that's yeah,
you succeeded.
finally I succeeded. It took me a year, almost a year.
Oh, well
Yeah.
done. I love it. I love it. There's a question from Jules, and it's going back to your dad. You said your father was familiar with ectoplasm. May I
Yeah.
ask, do you have any thoughts on this? As I've experienced seeing it once and thought it was a manifestation to neutralize psychic energy. It was like spaghetti on the floor. Question mark.
Yeah, I did not see it myself. I heard the stories, and I saw some pictures, but I did not see it myself. My father explained it like this. You work with a group, and you don't do that by yourself. You work with the energy of a group, and this group must be very strong. And you, as it were, you get this entity out of this body, or this bad energy out of this body. And some people can see that this energy has a color, like an aura around not everybody can see an aura. Not everybody can see the colors or see an aura. And so not everyone from a group can see the ectoplasm. But when it comes out, you can see the reaction of the person who is getting rid of this entity or this bad energy. I think it's more like bad energy. And if you can see auras, probably you can see ectoplasm. Plasma.
Or perhaps feel ectoplasm, or perhaps feel it.
Or yeah, I think feel it. Yes, I think most of the people who are around a person who needs to be worked on, I don't know. I think they all feel the energy. The room gets cold and stuff. That's what my father taught me, but I personally never saw it.
Okay. Were you ever in that group with him when they were working with somebody? Okay.
No, that's I think just before World War II. Yeah.
That's when he was doing it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was long before I was born. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he explained to me, and he told me about it. And yeah, for me, it was not a thing that frightened me, or I thought it was very logical to get rid of an entity that is in someone's body. Well, that, and this is already going from the Middle Ages, when you're sleeping and you have this entity sitting on your body and you cannot breathe or so. That's also one of the things that he explained, how to work with that. Yeah.
Yeah, she said she felt it was very negative, and then a kind of neutralization of the energy negativity. That I think maybe that's what she was trying to do. Gabrielle said, I read in certain voodoo practice that bad energy can be directed to an egg, so the egg gets black within a week. Perhaps that is a way to guide the ectoplasm. I know from my own healing thing, using a crystal to absorb that, and then you bury the crystal in the earth for it to be cleansed, and then after a month or you can take it out again and it's clean. So I suppose I would never use the word ectoplasm, but
no,
but it may be a word of its time.
I think so. Yeah. Well, I think it makes sense that energy gets into an object, for instance, stones or stuff you have in your house or whatever. You had a talk about this a few weeks ago, that stuff can get into an object. I think that is logic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how to get rid of it? Well, I think an egg is probably a good way, but also burying it or burning it or transform it. Well, that's the idea. Cleanse it or transform it. Yeah.
That's right. That's what putting the crystal in the earth was, to transmute, transform, and welcoming the healing powers of the earth to cleanse and to transmute energy, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philippa says, interesting. I've seen something I thought was that in a house rather than a person. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it was Melanie, I think, we were talking about, she does clearings of houses and things, and that we pick up stuff. Some of us are more sensitive than others. And then sometimes others have a language for it and others don't have a language. And when you don't have a language, sometimes it's quite challenging to say that something's not right. You can get a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's a word from that time, indeed. Yeah. So, in that time, it was normal to use that kind of words during seances and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not in this time anymore. We do normal things, I think.
Let's hope we do normal things. Well, yes, normal druid things. Yeah. Well, it's funny when people say, oh, they must think I'm mad. And it's like, well, in our world, it's normal. Yes. What would you say has been the most reckless thing you've done?
Oh, gosh. Married for the third time.
Oh, have you? Oh, well done.
That was kind of reckless.
Well, sacred threes. And reckless because?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just not a good idea if you don't have the hope anymore. So not listening to your own good senses, and yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
reckless. In my book, that is reckless. Yeah,
not listening to yourself. Okay.
my inner self, that is reckless. For me, that is reckless. It's always a disaster. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I know when I've listened to my own gut, even though all around says um, it should be otherwise, I go, no, I can only listen to this one because when I haven't, I have paid dearly for when I haven't listened to my voice. Even if it's the only voice, if my voice is not the same as anybody else's, it can
Mm.
be a lonely place, but I've
Yeah.
learned it.
Yeah.
So I take it you are single again,
Oh yeah. Happy.
looking for husband number 4.
No, thank you.
You don't want to square that circle or square that triangle.
Nope.
Oh, it's wonderful. What's been the biggest challenge you've had that you've overcome?
Raising 2 children by myself. That is the hardest thing I need to, yeah, that was the hardest thing to do. Yeah. Left my very aggressive husband number 1, who has pointed a gun on me, and at the end he shoot me with his gun. So um, I fled, I ran away, and my parents at that time had a boat, and I stayed there for 6 months with my 2 little children. The youngest was barely 2, I think, 2 years old. So yeah, that was a hard thing to do. Yeah, that was,
Sorry, you said he shot you. Did he actually hit you? I mean, did
yeah,
he?
yeah,
Where did you get the bullet?
in my back. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! So were you hospitalized? Were you sick for a long time, or?
No, 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 no. It was a very small bullet, but if it was a little bit closer, it would have done so much more damage. But it was from
Oh,
kind of a distance. It was a small bullet. Yeah. But then again, it doesn't matter. Small bullet, big bullet. The man shoot at me.
it's
So
yeah. It's
yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah.
Uh, Somebody wants to know, and I don't know from which divorce. Did you have divorce parties?
No, I have rituals. I did a ritual by cutting the cords 3 times, and yeah, that was necessary. Yeah, I didn't have a celebration. I did have a ritual by myself, cutting the cords and using all the old stuff and burn it or whatever was needed. Yeah, yeah.
Very, very important. Shanti says, I was raised by a single mum myself. Any parent who raises children on their own are true heroes.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
absolutely. Howard died when my children were adolescents. So I was glad they were adolescents and not younger. However, bringing up adolescents on your own is very challenging. We've come
It
through it,
is.
thank goodness. But it's that being on your own and nobody to either pull you back and say you're out of line or worry. That's just them having um, a tantrum. It is, and then it's almost that sense of being blamed if anything goes wrong, and it's a really hard one. Yeah,
It is. But then again, well, there's nobody tell you how to work or how to do your raising the children, or because there wasn't any contact, of course. So that's the easy part. You don't have to explain what you're doing or listen to someone that tells you how to raise your children. That's a positive thing. There's always you need to see that in a balance. There's always a positive thing and a negative thing. Yeah, yeah.
would you say? I mean, having 3 marriages. Okay, the first one very violent. I don't know what the other 2 were like. What have you learned about yourself from those 3 relationships?
Well, that's a hard one. I'm still learning. You never stop learning, of course. Well, the most important thing is that I'm a codependent. I help them keep their addictions or whatever. I keep the addictions in place, and that makes me a codependent. So that's something I need to address, and that's very important. And I told you I'm 63, so I'm still learning how to work with this this stuff. Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, Michelangelo at 87 said ancora imparo, which means I'm still learning. So you have
Yeah,
loads of time.
I hope so. Oh well, you know, rituals are helpful with that. Rituals
Yes.
can do some healing, but on the other hand, well, you know, you're a psychologist, so you know there's some other stuff needed also. You need to make a change in yourself, and Druidry is helpful with that.
Yep.
But there's also a part you need to do in another way. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
So,
your greatest achievement then?
oh gosh, I don't know. Raising my children.
Yeah. I mean, it is some achievement.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. In that time, becoming a nurse and worked all my life. And yeah, I think
Did you
it's
become a nurse before you had children or afterwards?
during. When I was pregnant from the first one, I became a nurse. I was studying when I was pregnant, and I get
Ooh.
my diploma 3 weeks before the date the birth. Yeah, was taking
Now I
place.
am very impressed. You know, I'm a nurse as well.
It's
Or
heavy
was a
with
nurse.
your big belly, and
I trained as when I was younger, you know, long before I had kids. And I know what it was like when I was pregnant. I think anyone who studies when they're pregnant, never mind nursing, because you obviously did nursing the old way, which was mostly in the hospitals, was it?
yeah,
Yeah, that's the same as well. Hard work,
yeah,
absolute hard work.
yeah.
So uh, I'm even more impressed and more in awe of you now, Marjolein.
That was what we did at that time. I don't know. That was normal at that time. Yeah, that was normal. Yeah.
Well,
I
it's funny when you know no better, you think, okay, this is my life, so I have to get on with it. And then when you come through it, you think, how did I do that?
I don't know. In
Yeah.
hindsight, I don't know. No, but I did. Yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
raising my children by myself and getting my diploma and working in hospitals. Yeah, that was a hard time, but it was also a very good time. I have this beautiful connection with my daughters. My daughters are in their 40s, and my youngest one is from my third marriage, and he's 23. So, yeah, I have this really good connection with my daughters.
how many
We
children have you?
3.
3. So 2 daughters and your youngest is the son. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's also beautiful to see how things are developing during a lifetime, and the connection with my daughters is fantastic. Also with my son, by the way, but with my daughters, it's fantastic. Yeah,
It's lovely to be able to say that. Absolutely
yeah,
precious. Yeah,
yeah. It is. It
wonderful.
is.
Salve says, you're still very young, Marjolein, and the late 50s, 1959 was a great year to be starting a wonderful journey into a new world of wild hope. That was the year I
Yeah,
was born. Yes. So
yeah.
lovely that comment.
58.
Huh? You were 58,
50.
so you're very old. You're very old. I was born in 59. uh, Ellen says, we're never too old to reprogram. I had to do it at 45. Yeah. It never stops. I remember my mother used to say to me, I'm too old to change. You'll have to change. And she was in her 20s at this point.
Oh
And
wow.
it's, you can change anytime. She's 85 now and she's flying. You know, just it's really, really interesting. You know, she's playing golf and she's cycling. We got her a bike for her 85th birthday, a lighter push bike.
85.
So, yeah, and she says, well, if you stop doing things, you'll seize up. So she keeps going. And it's just amazing. that desire, and all her family are gone. You know, a long, long time. Just to keep going and live fully.
Yeah.
Which Jules says you're an earth angel, wise woman, witch. Then.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So, any regrets?
No.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. I think everything that was happening in my life was okay, and I've learned a lot, and no regrets. But I won't do it again a next life. I've already done it this life, so I'm not doing it again.
You mean you're not doing this, living the same life again, or you're not coming back again?
Oh no, I'm coming back probably, but I'm not doing this stuff again in my next life. No, no. But for this life, no regrets. No.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's to be able to look at your life and review it and say, okay, loads of mistakes, but nothing to be regretted.
No. No.
That's
That's an awful energy when you start regretting things, and that brings you in this awful state of um, depression or in a dark place. You need to go and search for the light in your life and learn about all the things that happened and do it better next time and make other choices and learn from them. So no, I think it's a bad energy to have regrets. Yeah, it doesn't
so.
bring you anywhere. It doesn't bring you anything. Yeah.
No, because I think if you've done something that you regret, if you can make amends and undo the damage, great. But if you're stuck with that, it's
Yeah.
what would you say? In many ways, it's kind of paralyzing.
Exactly.
It just leaves a big hole in your life because that thing is there. Rather than being able to, I think it's lovely to be able to say,
Exactly.
no regrets. So when you talked about the light and shining, what is it that you're grateful for?
Yeah. Well, my spiritual way, I'm grateful for. It makes sense. It gives me a place on earth. It gives me the feeling that I'm wanted, and there is a place for me on this earth. So the spiritual ways, my witchcraft and druidry, the hermetic stuff, it makes me feel that I need to be here at this moment in time. So I'm grateful for that. Grateful for not living my life oblivious, just living it and work and party and work and party, and well, that it's making sense. It's making sense. So spiritual ways are giving me this kind of a fulfillment for my life, in my life.
So you have that sense of belonging on the
Yeah.
earth. This
Yeah.
is in this place at this time is the right. Yeah.
Yep.
And Healing Heart says, despite all the trauma, I don't regret anything either. It's been about learning. Now it's just baby steps back to life again. Yeah.
Good. You will get there. Yeah.
He says, you know, I'm not 63, but I'm 59. But yes, coming back home to myself is a good feeling. And I think that finding your home within yourself and that sense of I am home, either within your body or where I'm living or where you're visiting. I mean, even going to a special place and to have that sense of homecoming, a
Yeah.
place where you belong.
For me, that's always the sea. The sea is for me a place where I came from, I belong. And I told you I have 3 marriages But I also have several houses where I lived in the Netherlands. And at the moment, I live in a house that is just 2 houses away from the house where all my sisters were born and where my parents lived 40 years, 50 years. And I think the circle is round. This house was calling me, and I'm back on my roots again. These are my roots. This is the place where I was born and raised. And for me, that's also that the circle is complete. It's not that I'm planning to die tomorrow or next year. No, but I have the feeling that this is where I started, and this is where I will end finally. And in the meantime, it opened my eyes what I have seen, not only places or houses, that's not important, but the ground. You know, I lived for 20 years in a place in the Netherlands where there was peat in the ground. You know, I don't
Yes,
know.
Pete.
Yeah. And this ground was very poor and miserable because of all the peat that has came out, and what was left was just a swamp. But
Mm-hmm.
this was my biggest teacher. These grounds were my biggest teacher because they taught me about places that are so dark, and that just gives me energy. They taught me to look different, to look at plants that are only living over there, and they have a special need for the people who live there. You know, all the plants that are growing in a swamp are plants that are especially good for illnesses of the lungs, wet illnesses. So if you understand the ground, you understand the plants, you understand the medicine, you understand why you must be there. And at that time, my last husband was, I don't know, he's not dead yet, was a doctor. So we had our own practice, and people asked me for herbs because they have illnesses that he couldn't cure with regular medicine, but they grow in your backyard. All these stuff from these swamps, yeah, they were needed for these patients because they always have these wet illnesses from the lungs, from the throat, and the depressions, of course, because the swamp and the oil in the ground is pulling them down. And if people cannot handle that energy, well, they get depressed, of course. So this was a very interesting land for me to be.
That's interesting. That is the landscape in which I was born in
Oh,
Ireland, in the
oh.
bog. Midlands.
What did you learn?
Nothing to get away from it. And it's really interesting. It was a place I never belonged, and I never felt I belonged, even though I was born there. So I left as soon as I could. And my orientation is towards the west, Galway, Connemara. And my mother's from Mayo. My father's west of the Shannon. But I live in Kilkenny, which is the southeast that I discovered when I met Howard. And I think now I can have an appreciation to go back to the bog. I see Nordic Rainbow, the Rattling Bog. Oh, the Rattling Bog, the bog down in the valley. Sorry, it's a song. But I remember the dullness and the dreariness, and I wasn't into herbs at the time. And then I discovered Drosera. Is Drosera? That's the
Yeah, the
it's that
fly,
the
the fly
flycatcher that
catcher.
grows in
Yeah,
the bog. And when I discovered, oh my God, that grows in the bog, and I didn't know. So
yeah.
it's like it's an ecosystem that I didn't appreciate growing up there. And now as an adult, I need to go back and have another look at the bog. And I think because and I know you've spoken about, and I know when I was studying my herbalism, the teacher saying that you always find the herbs that you need around you, for whatever illness, it's there. You'll find it if you look. And it's to be able to recognize the magic in the landscape, and even in the dullest of landscapes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because in winter at this time, when everything is dull, the bog can really, there's no light reflected, where even by the sea, if it's grey, you get some kind of reflected light.
Yeah. It is all in the ground. It's all kept in the ground, very warm in the mother. So there is something sacred in the bog. Yeah.
And it's a magical place. It's a liminal place. The jack-o'-lanterns that we light at Samhain. Okay, so there's various stories about those, coming from here, and turnips were carved to put lanterns in, or to put the candles in, not pumpkins.
Mm-hmm.
Pumpkins are easier to carve. Well, people think that, but I've started back carving turnips. But the Irish for the jack-o'-lantern is Sean na Gialli, which means Sean of the moon, or China Giallon, which means a bright fire. And they're the will-o'-the-wisps, those little flashing lights that you see on the bog.
Exactly.
Some would say, oh, they're the fairies, but they're also jack-o'-lanterns that, they're the souls wandering around, or maybe it's Jack trying to find his way through the other world. So there's a magic there.
Yeah, there's a song in Germany, an old classical song, I think. It's Nibelungen, and it's about the ghost, the white feminine ghosts that lives there and work with jack-o'-lanterns, the lights, the bog lights. Yeah, that's yeah. People who live nearby always know that if the fog is coming up, there are also these white feminine structures in the mist, and they believe that these white ghosts are, well, the magic of the bog, of the swampland. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a special kind of land, although it's ugly and it smells, but there's a sacredness in it. Yeah.
And it preserves, when digging up, we find the woods, the bog yew and the oak and the pine, and they're absolutely magnificent black woods.
Yeah.
But also they found bog bodies. They've even found, I remember being fascinated as a child when they'd found some butter in a leather pouch, and the butter was still good.
Oh.
And it was preserved, and you're talking thousands of years. And I think honey, and then the bog bodies were fine, I suppose, until they were exposed to the air. But that they were fine. And I mean, I find something like that takes a life, maybe. Either they were buried deliberately or whatever. And then you find something like butter that it didn't disintegrate. It just held it.
How is that possible from a piece of land that is so ugly and so smelly, but it can keep even more than our modern refrigerators? Or
That's right.
Yeah. So there is something magical about that land. Yeah. Yeah. So and then we start again with the picture behind me. Yeah, there's something beautiful, sacred in all things. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And Ferdi talked about ruins being, liminal places, but also bogs are, there's that, because you it's watery, so it's water and it's solid and it isn't, it's both, and that's dangerous. And it's about being able to walk with safety across the bog with great care and attention that lends to the magic.
Yeah. So you need to go back and visit it again and see it with other eyes, how it looks now and what you can find now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Gabrielle says, I don't think it's ugly, but each land has a certain type of energy and pulls in certain people. That is true.
Yeah.
That is so. It's just on a dull day when you're looking at a dull bog, it can bring you down. And then compared to looking at bright green fields or trees, in full leaf on a sunny day with a blue sky, and you think, oh my God, this is a magical place, or being by the sea or in the mountains. It's all got to do with sunshine too, I think. Debbie says, I find the bogs and swamps beautiful. I spend most of my time walking routes through them, much to the consternation of onlookers. So you have that magical power to be able to find the right foothold to walk through the bog. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's about finding, and it was Harriet, finding the beauty wherever you are, I think is a very, very
Exactly.
important thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And not only finding it, but also make it your companion and work with it. That's the beauty of working with a land, as we Druids do. It's not only looking, have our ceremonial things, stuff outside. It's also work with the land, work with the energy of the land. There are different types of soil in the Netherlands. Near a river is a different soil. The energy is different, and I explained you about the dunes. It's a completely different energy. It's like airy. It's just you plant a tree and next week it's gone, because there's always this open wind and the trees are just gone. So there's a kind of energy. If you uh, want to get rid of all this stuff in your head and too much work and too much problems and too much, go to a place like the dunes. It will just blow it away, like the sea washes you clean. The dunes make your head clear, like the wind is right going through your head, right through your head, and blow it clean. So work with the land, not only recognize it, but work with it. See what the plants are doing, and invite them to visit your garden if you need some plants. For instance, you have an illness, invite the plants, they will come and you can use them, and you work together with the land. Whatever land it is, it doesn't matter, you will find the right place.
It's really interesting talking about inviting in the plants that you need. I've been wanting mullein.
Yeah.
The flowers are very good for ears. And I used to grow it. They used to be here. And then they disappeared. And over the summer, I was asking people, has anyone got seeds? And I found in my polytunnel, there's 3 mullein plants.
Oh.
I did grow them once, years and years and years ago. They were in my polytunnel, and I haven't seen them since. And this year, obviously, they were lying dormant in the soil. They germinated, and I know I was asking for them, and I just thought, wow. And just interesting that you say that. And then I'm also fascinated with that sandy place that doesn't want trees planted there. You say you plant trees, and it's like, this is not the place. And it's that, we've obviously other places need trees, and but it's interesting to be able to listen to the land. What does the land want?
Yeah, when I moved to this place with the swamps and the bog, I thought I had a beautiful house and a big garden, and I thought, well, I plant these beautiful things where I'm going to buy these plants and trees and stuff like that, and no plant will grow. No plant will grow. The trees just fall down. So this was kind of a war with my garden. And then when I accepted it, oh, this is a different soil. This is different land. Something is happening here. Under the normal ground, there was still a part of peat laying there. And peat is moving. So the plants have very wet feet. They didn't want to stay there. But on the other hand, I got these beautiful plants instead of all these ones that I bought in a special shop. They didn't grow. But all these plants from the environment, from this house, they came to my garden. every plant that wants to live in. So you can imagine how my garden looks. Not very nice, not very neat, not very,
Right.
but it was perfect. Perfect to make medicine, perfect to help the patients of the practice, perfect to do my work, and that was my call, to be there. So if you ask me, do you have regrets? No, because I got something else instead. I got a bad marriage, but instead I got so much information from the land and the herbs and how to make it. So that makes it kind of in balance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
That's,
beautiful.
yeah.
So, any concerns you have about the modern world apart from the Botox?
Oh, yeah. Well, gosh. Yeah, I do have some concerns. I hope that our future generation can connect with their soul and the land and the earth. And of course, this is kind of worrying me and is of a big concern. But then again, I see the new members, and that gives me a bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I still am very well. In Scotland, all the world leaders come together and talk about climate change and what to do. And 2030, everything needs to be in order. Well, yeah. Well, let's hope that they do that, and let's hope that there will be a change. But yeah, that's kind of a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you hopeful that COP26 will do something? Achieve
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, I'm hopeful because I see the young people taking place, taking a stand, are protesting now, and are waking up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm still hoping for everything to be okay. Yeah. So but there's not yet a balance, but I've not lost hope totally. No, no. But it is of any concern. Yeah, the earth is my concern. Yeah, yeah.
What would you not compromise on? Do you have you strike me as a very, very strong person, and I'm wondering, yeah, what is it you won't compromise on? Like, what's your bottom line?
I don't think I found it yet. Oh no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I haven't found it. No, I'm a strong person, but I'm also very easygoing. And if someone asks me something and I don't want to do it, I told you I'm a codependent, so I say yes, it's okay. So on the other hand, I'm not that strong because I'm a codependent. So I need to learn how to not be a
Not to get
codependent,
hooked.
and
Not to get
that's
hooked.
yeah, and that's where I find my bottom line, I think.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes, yes. It's very as a carer, and I knew it for myself as a nurse, that drive to help others and at an expense to oneself. And it
yeah,
was interesting because I was trained, you must think always of the other person. And then I went into psychology, and then I was challenged. Why do you think you need to protect everybody and save the world? What's that about? Why do you need to be a rescuer? And then it was like, you bring it back to yourself. But I understand the hook of somebody in need and wanting to reach out. And
yeah,
actually, it's a really good thing. It's a commendable quality to have. It's about having it in check
yeah,
at a cost to yourself, because it
exactly,
doesn't help. It doesn't help being in a codependent relationship.
exactly. Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of and my last question. I know, Gabriella, they're going to have bets as to what you're going to answer. Is your favorite season and your favorite festival?
Well, Samhain and autumn. Yeah. It's also like the bog and the swamp, and I'm very drawn to the inner side of the earth, and from a hermetic perspective, this is where you're going. It's yeah. You need to be looking upwards to the sun, to the light, but also to the dark to
Mhm.
bring it in balance. And for me, my preference is um, the inner side, the dark side, with a goddess, with a all that is taught there, and the teachings, and the silence, and well, also the introvertness of myself. I'm not that outgoing. I'm really more, yeah, autumn Samhain. Yeah.
Sorry, Gabriella, she had said Bealtaine, so but that you might say that. And it's really interesting because most people that I ask, I haven't done a poll, but my sense is most people say sound. Uh, I like it, and I love going in. I love being in the dark. I don't like the transition. I find, coming into September difficult. And once I pass the equinox, fine, I'm accepting of it. But I love bright sunny days and I love long evenings. And now I'm in the dark. I like being in a cave. I like going into the earth. So I suppose it's I can't say there's any season that, oh God, here we're coming into this. I hate this. Each one I love at the time. But this
Hmm.
one is always I think a very special time.
Yeah, for me also. It's a time in the year that I going back to the goddess Inanna, and she has these 9 steps into herself and ending up as a cadaver on the wall and stuff like that, and start all over again with a bright, fresh idea, and cleansed her soul and everything else. So for me, autumn and not particularly Samhain, but autumn and wintertime are the time that I reflect on Inanna and her way to the underworld.
I'm intrigued now. I said that was my last question, but now you've opened it up again. Those
Oh,
9 steps of Inanna, what are they?
well, you get rid of all the things that are sticking to you. Well, the first, of course, is your crown, your ego, your uh,
Okay.
and the second is your necklace of gold and beautiful things. This is your wealth. And the third is, if I'm correct, your father and mother. You
Okay.
are always expecting that they will help you, but you need to do it by yourself. So you need to get rid of that. And the fourth, well, I don't know, it's every step you're going to release something that is sticking on you until the last step. And then you have nothing, really nothing, not even your life. So it's kind of a rebirthing thing. Uh, be aware of what you're going to release. A crown, for instance, your ego, your wealth, your parents, your siblings, your house, your
Mhm.
all that stuff. Just get rid of it and start all over again, naked as the day you were born. And then this gives you a chance of uh, seeing and doing it different when you come out of this cave, this underground world.
It's
Yeah,
interesting. Gabriella says Inanna sounds kind of harsh. What do you think?
yeah, it is harsh. Yeah, that's true. It is harsh, but I'm not a person that is very dandelion softly in spirituality. I'm kind of harsh. It's not roses and butterflies for me. So yeah, she's right. Yeah, although it's for everyone else, it's for everybody is it's different how you experience your spirituality. For me, it's harsh. Yeah.
It's interesting because I know doing shamanic training that, you know, the initiation of the shaman is to be stripped down to nothing, just to the essence, and then you're rebuilt back up. And that can be a hard, challenging experience, but it's, she says, let's all the dandelions and butterflies come to me. But that actually, that when you've been stripped bare to your essence, you've been, in a sense, unburdened and relieved of all those things weighing you down that are not so important. But that it sets you off on a new path to be able to explore more possibilities. That it's hopeful.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Healing Heart says, I've made a start on that. Would really like to know the 9 actual steps so I can check them off. I'm sure you can find those online, can you?
I think so. Yeah.
The 9 steps of Inanna or something like that. It's been
Yeah.
really Marjolein. I said that was my last question, but anyway, it is my last question. So thank you so much. You've been an absolute delightful guest. And I know just from the comments that people really, really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you so much. So you and I'm just going to, what's the word? Cut you out, but no, you're going to stay there because we're going to look at the comments. So thank you so much. So just stay where you are, and I'll be back to you in a minute. I'll just say goodbye to you. So thank you all for joining us and for your wonderful comments. And like I said, we'll just read the comments afterwards. It's really nice that when people, you contribute so much to our conversations by your questions and your comments. So I look forward to seeing you next week. But Banachtina Hauna Jiv and Banachtina Bialtana. So the blessings of Sound and the blessings of Bialtana, wherever, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. So we're having the orders Sound ceremony at 7 p.m. That's Universal Time, GMT, this Saturday. And look forward to seeing you then if you're able to join us. And it'll be recorded anyway if you can't watch it live. And also, I'll look forward to seeing you next week for another Fireside Chat. So until then, slán go fóill.